Right, today this is a change from my usual sort of videos. It's a brief look at some of the other sites which I've found interesting and maybe well worth a look at and perhaps a subscribe. Now, I've selected them in different categories, and the first category is radio and electronics, which is a particular interest of mine, and mainly people who restore or repair old vintage radios, those kind of things. Now the first one up I've selected from my subscriptions is, when I find it, there we are, Radio Cruncher. Now that's Radio Cruncher's site, and he does live streams with comments you can participate in with the chat line, and it's great fun. He's really well worth a look, and he will take you through getting an old radio and restoring it piece by piece, fault finding, and there's other interests in it as well. And it's like a little club, so it's well worth joining the live streams for that one if you can. But it's certainly worth looking at the videos which he's posted up of the live streams if you can't make the live streams. So that one's well worth a look, and I do recommend it. His name's Graham, and it's a great site. It has giveaways of various things as well. So that's well worth a look. Right, now the next one I picked up is a guy who calls himself Cool Dude Clem. The computer's playing up. There we are. Right, Cool Dude Clem. Now he's again somebody who does a lot of electronics. He does other things as well. He does animations, a few personal interest videos, and a few rambles, as he would probably call them. But he's great for electronics. He's really good at the subject. He designs his own things, and he does his own experiments and takes you through them. What he's tried and why he's tried it, and what's worked and what hasn't worked. He makes mistakes. He doesn't delete his mistakes. So yeah, he's well worth a look too. I recommend certainly his unorthodox approach, and he's rather fun to watch as well. The next one I picked up is someone called Gaslinger. Let me just find that. There we are, Gaslinger. And this one again is mainly vintage radios, restoring vintage radios, perhaps the odd TV, things like that. And again, it's an unorthodox and very different approach, and it's great fun to watch. And it's just an interesting site with lots of very old American radios. So that's again another one you might like to look at. Now let me find it. Mr. Radio, there we are. And there's Mr. Radio. This guy works a museum, and they keep a lot of radios, vintage radios and record players and things like that in the museum, and he maintains them. And they do some up that's to sell at auctions, and he also gets involved with that. He's very interesting and takes you through step by step. So that's another one that's well worth a look. And Mr. Carson's Lab, which I think a lot of people will have heard of. He's very popular. Now this guy's got more test equipment than you could ever shake a stick at. I think his labs are better equipped than most research establishments, and he's very precise and very accurate in what he does, and everything. He's a stickler for detail, for getting things 100% right, and he's well worth a look too. That's Mr. Carson's Lab. The next few that I'm looking at, I've put under the heading General Technology. There may be radios and things like that among the things they do. but they do a variety of different things. There's I was going to say Mr. J, but he doesn't call himself that. J's Vintage Junk. J's Vintage Junk. There we go. A UK one again. Now, as you can see from the picture at the top, he does computer things. He also does radios and other bits and pieces. So if you're interested in radios, he's well worth a look, but he also does more general technology and electronics. So he's again another site you may want to look at. And one of my favourites at the moment too is my mate Vince. And I'll find him in a minute. There we go. My mate Vince is the one I think is a bit like me in a way, the way he picks through fault finding the things, and his thinking process behind what he's doing. He does a variety of things. He does watches, tape recorders, radios, all sorts of things. He's not strictly an electronics man. He was I think a communications like BT, British Telecom, or something like that. I can't remember now precisely, but he was involved with the telephone type work before, and so there's quite a bit of that. But he also goes into his fault finding process and his thinking behind it. So that's another guy that's I certainly enjoy watching his things. That's another one, Mr. G Stuff. Now, Mr. G Stuff, as you might gather again from the pictures, he's very much into record players, old gramophones, old acoustic gramophones. He actually makes his own experiments, and he's made acoustic gramophones himself. He's made electronic gramophones, record players, all sorts of experiments. There's a few other different things on his site. Again, I enjoy watching him. He does a lot of mechanical side of engineering and 3D printing and so on. And again, you may find him an interesting one to look at. Now, let me look down here. Techmoan. Yeah, Techmoan, an interesting site. He tends to look at things like old cassette recorders, boom boxes, those sort of things, different forms of audio recording and playback over the years. Interesting site for a different approach. He's not really an electronics man, but he will try and get things working if they're not working, and he'll try and sort them out, and he'll try and demonstrate lots and lots of different formats. So he's very much into different formats of audio and so on. So he's again worth a look. That's Mr. Techmo. And then there's Technology Connections. This is an American chap. He does all sorts of different technologies. So some of it's electrical and electronic, some of it's mechanical, all sorts of things. Interesting site. Goes into a lot of different things, the reasons behind the thinking, and some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages of all sorts of various technologies. He's well worth a look, I think. So that's another site I certainly enjoy a lot. Now I'm moving to a heading which I've called Other Interests, which are a variety of different things. There's a site, Dulavoz, which is mainly about rail transport, different railways and different forms of public transport. There's quite a few cab view videos, and they're in 4K, and they'll take you through a whole journey. Maybe some of these are several hours long. They'll actually take you in the cab along a route, and if you're interested in trains and that sort of thing, it's a very good site for that sort of, if you enjoy cab view videos. Again, a different subject entirely, Garden Ninja. He is full of garden tips. He's been on TV. I think he's on TV currently in a sort of garden makeover program. and he goes into all the different aspects of gardening and what to do at different times of the year, and I find him a helpful source of information on that subject. So that's another one that may interest you. Then we've got the sheet music singer. For anyone that's into, come on computer, don't play up now. Right, there we are. The sheet music singer, he'll produce videos with the lyrics and the music sheets printed up on the screen, so you can follow it along. And if you can read music and you're a singer, you can sing along with it. It's a good resource for people who want to learn to sing better, and it's also where you can find lyrics of vintage music. It's a good site for that sort of thing if you're interested in that at all. Steve Mould, again, it's taking its time getting there. There we go. Steve Mould is actually on Blue Peter, on the kids program Blue Peter. He does the sort of science things and shows interesting little science quirks and why they happen, or investigates why things happen, how things work. It's just a general thing, but it's often quite worth watching. And the last but not least is Tom Daley, the UK gold medalist. He posts up some interesting videos of his sporting work and his training behind the scenes, and also it's a bit about his family life and the child he's bringing up and so on. So yeah, I find that quite an interesting one to watch. It's quite a nice one to watch. I did miss one out actually. I missed one out. I'll put it in at the end. There we go. Yeah, Vinyl Eyes. This guy is really mainly about collecting vinyl records, as the name might suggest. He goes into different types of equipment, which ones to buy and so on. He talks about different music. Of course, the copyright rules mean that he can't play the music, which is a shame. But he does go into good descriptions of the records and the music and the artists, and he shows the artwork of various collectors' albums. So if you're really into vinyl collecting, he's a good one to try. So there's just some of the sites that I find particularly interesting at the moment. So I'll just leave you with that one, because that one I really do suggest you go along and join in on the live streams and subscribe, because he's very interesting and entertaining. So I'll leave you with that one, and bye for now, and thanks for watching.